The icy wind cut across the barren plains like invisible blades, whipping against the glimmering crystal towers in the distance. Lyra, an alien girl with pale blue skin and eyes that reflected the shimmering light of her city, walked carefully over the frost-covered ground. Her tall, slender frame moved gracefully, yet there was tension in her shoulders. She had always been calm, composed, precise, but today a restlessness simmered beneath her usual control. Lyra's people had a gift, or perhaps a burden, she often thought. They could sense their soulmate through a subtle energy signal, a pulse of warmth that revealed the one meant for them. It was supposed to come naturally, with no effort like breathing. And yet, for Lyra, the signal had never come. She had scanned countless beings across the galaxy, traveled to worlds bathed in blue suns and forests glowing with bioluminescent life, but always the answer was the same. Nothing. Empty. Silent. She sighed, the cold air misting around her lips. "Why am I even searching?" she whispered to herself, her voice barely audible over the howling wind. She had asked this question for cycles now, and still she had no answer. Her heart, if she could call it that in the human sense, felt hollow. And yet a part of her, a small stubborn part, refused to give up. Ahead, the faint glow of a fallen star shimmered against the ice, drawing her attention. Something was there, far too small to be a creature native to this frozen land. As she approached, she saw the source. A human, slumped against a jagged shard of crystal, shivering violently. His exploration pod had been destroyed, metal twisted and sparking in the cold. Lyra knelt beside him, her careful hands hovering, unsure whether she should touch him. Humans were fragile, unlike her race, but something about him, something unexplainable, made her heart rate quicken. She could see the frost on his hair, the way his skin was pale with cold, and she knew he would not survive long out here. "Stay still," she instructed gently, touching his shoulder with a gloved hand. Her skin barely brushed his, but the moment it did, everything changed. A surge of energy erupted inside her, overwhelming and bright, like 1,000 suns exploding in her chest. She stumbled backward, eyes wide in shock. Her soulmate's signal, her very being that had never activated before, was going wild. It pulsed, flared, and screamed in ways she had never felt, and it was all because of this human. Ethan, for that was the human's name, stirred and opened his eyes, blinking at the alien girl. He looked confused, exhausted, and frightened, yet when he saw her, there was a spark of recognition, or perhaps trust. "Are you going to help me?" he asked weakly. His voice was rough from cold, but it carried a determination she couldn't ignore. Lyra's mind raced. She was trained to avoid humans, to study them from a distance, never to interfere unless necessary. But her instincts, the strange pull of the signal, demanded she act. "Yes," she replied firmly, ignoring the shock that still coursed through her. "You need warmth. Come with me." She extended a hand, and Ethan hesitated for a moment before taking it. The touch was nothing like the flaring pulse she had felt before. It was calm, human, unrefined. But she felt it nonetheless. Guiding him across the icy ground, she led him to a portable energy dome, a small bubble of warmth and light she had brought for her research trips. Inside, the cold vanished, replaced by a gentle heat and soft illumination that made the alien crystals inside glow like lanterns. Ethan sank onto a cushioned platform, shivering but relieved. I thought I was done for," he admitted, rubbing his arms. Thank you." Lyra knelt beside him, examining his injuries. Nothing was broken, just cuts and bruises, but the cold had taken a toll. She touched his arm again, this time deliberately, pressing her hands gently against him to warm his blood. The signal surged again, though less violently this time. She gasped, pulling her hands back slightly. She had never experienced such intensity, such raw, uncontrolled energy. What just happened?" Ethan asked, noticing the strange flicker in her eyes. Lyra hesitated. How could she explain? Her people's soulmate signal was sacred, private, and beyond human comprehension. She could not tell him that touching him had awakened something powerful, something irreversible. Instead, she said, "Nothing, just a reaction to the cold." "You are special, though. Not many survive out here alone." Ethan nodded, clearly still weak but eager to learn more. "I'm Ethan. I was mapping this sector. The pod failed, and I don't know how I made it this far." He paused, glancing at her. "And are you native here?" "I am Lyra," she said softly. "I study this planet. The lands beyond the city are dangerous, even for my kind." She looked away for a moment, struggling to control the flaring energy in her chest. "But I could not leave you to die." Ethan smiled faintly, admiration and gratitude shining through his exhaustion. "I guess we saved each other then, in a way." Lyra did not answer. The signal inside her throbbed again, pulsing unpredictably. She tried to calm herself, to focus on his injuries, but her mind kept returning to the strange connection, the overwhelming pull she could not explain. It was as if her very essence had recognized him, even though they had just met. Night fell and the landscape outside the dome transformed. The ice reflected the stars, making the world look like it was blanketed in tiny lights. Lyra and Ethan sat side by side, talking quietly. He told her stories of Earth, of forests and oceans, cities and mountains, while she described her people's cities, their crystal towers, and the way they harnessed energy to survive in harsh climates. Ethan's curiosity and courage intrigued her. Humans were so unpredictable, so raw with emotion, yet their ingenuity and willpower were remarkable. Every word he spoke seemed to resonate with her, sending the signal inside her into another burst of energy. She pressed her palms to her knees, trying to keep calm, but it was useless. Every glance, every smile, every sound from him stirred something deep inside. "You're different from anyone I've ever met," she admitted finally. Her voice trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the strange intensity of what she was feeling. "And you're different too," Ethan replied, his eyes meeting hers. There was a sincerity in his gaze that made her pulse quicken even more. "I don't know why, but I feel like meeting you wasn't by chance." Lyra's heart, or what she understood as a heart, leapt. The thought that their meeting could be more than coincidence frightened her as much as it thrilled her. She had always been cautious, precise, controlled. Now she felt her instincts slipping, replaced by an overwhelming desire to stay near him, to protect him, to understand what this bond meant. Hours passed, though they felt like minutes. Outside, the icy wind howled, but inside the dome, there was a fragile sense of peace. Lyra watched Ethan sleep for a moment, marveling at how fragile yet resilient he was. His breathing was steady, calm, and she felt the pulse of the soulmate signal stabilize slightly, as if his trust and presence were soothing the wild energy within her. She realized something then, something profound. This human, this unexpected being could change everything. He had not just survived on the ice, he had awakened something in her, something her people had never experienced. She was drawn to him, connected to him in ways she could not yet explain. Lyra lay down near the edge of the dome, still keeping her distance, but close enough to feel the warmth radiating from Ethan. The signal continued to pulse, a rhythmic beat that mirrored her own thoughts, her own growing curiosity, and perhaps something deeper. She could not deny it any longer. Meeting Ethan had triggered the soulmate signal in a way that was wild, overwhelming, and undeniable. As the twin moons rose in the alien sky, casting silver light over the crystalline plains, Lyra made a silent vow. She would protect him. She would learn from him. And perhaps in the process, she would discover not only the truth of the soulmate signal, but also the truth about herself. Outside the dome, the wind continued to roar, carrying the icy chill across the barren plains. But inside, Lyra and Ethan shared a fragile warmth, a bond unspoken but growing stronger with each passing moment. The journey ahead was uncertain, the dangers immense, yet for the first time, Lyra felt a flicker of hope. And somewhere deep inside, she knew this meeting was only the beginning of something extraordinary, something that would change both their lives forever. The morning light spilled over the icy plains, casting a pale glow across the crystal towers in the distance. Inside the energy dome, Lyra stirred first, her senses alert to every sound, every pulse of energy in the air. The soulmate signal still throbbed within her chest, less violent than the first touch but persistent, a constant reminder of the bond that had awakened between her and Ethan. Ethan was still asleep, his breathing steady, his body slowly recovering from the cold and exhaustion. Lyra watched him for a long moment, marveling at the fragility and strength that humans carried within them. She had expected humans to be unpredictable, raw, and often reckless, but this one, he was different. Even in sleep, he seemed to radiate courage and resolve. The dome hummed gently around her, stabilizing the warmth and energy within. Outside, the wind whistled across the ice, a constant reminder that the planet was unforgiving and that their safety was fragile. Lyra's mind raced with possibilities. The signal connecting them was not merely personal, it was powerful. If not controlled, it could affect the environment around them. Ethan stirred, blinking against the light as he sat up. "Morning," he said, his voice hoarse but steady. He rubbed his eyes, then noticed her watching him. "Still awake?" "Yes," Lyra said, trying to sound calm. "You are recovering, that is good." Her eyes betrayed her tension. "We must be careful. The signal, it reacts strongly when emotions are high." Ethan frowned, curiosity quickly replacing fatigue. "Signal? What signal?" Lyra hesitated. Her people considered soulmate signals sacred, private, yet she could not hide what was happening. She chose her words carefully. When two beings are meant for each other, a pulse, a resonance occurs. Normally it is gentle. For me, it has never happened, until you— Ethan's eyes widened, then softened. "You mean when I touched you, something happened?" "Yes," she admitted. "Something powerful. It is why I stayed with you, and why I cannot leave you alone here." Her words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Ethan nodded slowly. "I don't know what to say. I didn't mean anything beyond wanting to survive." He paused, then smiled faintly. "But if it caused this, I guess I should be honored." Lyra allowed herself a small smile, though her mind was already racing ahead. The signal reacted not just to touch, but to emotions, intent, courage, and trust. They would need to control it, or it could become dangerous. The energy pulses had already made minor disturbances in the environment, crystal shards shifting slightly, wildlife reacting nervously to the strange energy. "We must learn to control it," Lyra said. "If the pulse grows unstable, it could draw attention, unwanted attention." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Attention? From who?" Lyra hesitated, weighing her words carefully. "Authorities from my people. They monitor energy fluctuations across the planet. A signal this strong from a human is unprecedented." Ethan's brow furrowed. "So they might see me as a threat," Lyra shook her head. "Not necessarily, but they will be curious, and your presence here complicates matters. We must be cautious." Despite the tension, Ethan's curiosity shone brighter than fear. "Then teach me. I want to help you understand this, whatever it is." Lyra studied him for a long moment. Humans were unpredictable, but their courage and determination often exceeded expectation. This one, she realized, could adapt quickly. She nodded. "Very well, we will begin." The next hours were a careful exercise in patience and understanding. Lyra guided Ethan in controlling the energy pulse, showing him how her emotions affected it. At first, it was chaotic. Sparks of energy danced wildly, causing frost to melt unevenly on the dome floor and sending errant pulses through the surrounding plains. Ethan stumbled, overwhelmed by the sensations coursing through him. "Focus," Lyra instructed, placing her hands lightly over his. "You must feel calm, trust yourself, trust me." Ethan nodded, closing his eyes. Slowly, he drew in a deep breath, letting the warmth from the dome fill his lungs. He visualized the energy as a gentle wave, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. At first, it surged uncontrollably, but Lyra's presence steadied him. Her own pulse, her careful control, acted as an anchor. Gradually, the wild sparks diminished, replaced by a steady, soft glow that filled the dome. Lyra's chest swelled with relief. The signal was stabilizing. She could feel Ethan's emotions syncing with hers, the courage, the empathy, the curiosity. Each beat strengthened their bond, and for the first time she sensed the potential of what they could achieve together. "You are learning quickly," Lyra said, impressed. Ethan smiled, sweat glistening on his brow. "I have a good teacher." His eyes softened as he glanced at her. "And maybe I have a reason to keep going now." Her heart, or what she understood as a heart, skipped a beat. The soulmate signal pulsed gently, steady and reassuring, a sign of the bond forming between them. But as the day progressed, a new problem emerged. Far in the distance, a squad of elite alien scouts appeared, drawn to the energy signature. Lyra recognized them immediately, authorities tasked with monitoring unusual signals. They were fast, precise, and cautious, and their approach meant one thing: questions, scrutiny, and possibly confrontation. "They are coming," Lyra said, tense. "They will want answers." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Then we give them answers, but carefully." Lyra nodded. The two moved outside the dome, taking a position where the energy pulse would be less obvious. The scouts arrived, scanning the landscape, their sensors glowing as they registered the unusual activity. Lyra stepped forward, her posture formal, regal. "I am Lyra," she said. "This human is under my protection. The signal you detect is controlled." The leader of the scouts, tall and imposing, stepped closer. "A human controlling a soulmate pulse. This is unprecedented. You must explain." Lyra glanced at Ethan, who nodded slightly, giving her silent reassurance. She took a deep breath. "The bond between us is not a threat. It is a resonance of trust and courage. Together we stabilize the pulse. Alone, it would have been chaotic." The scouts exchanged glances, clearly impressed but wary. "You claim the human's presence strengthens it?" one asked. "Yes," Lyra replied firmly. "His courage, empathy, and resolve anchor the pulse. It reacts to his emotions as well as mine. It is why I chose to protect him." The leader studied them for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Curious, dangerous, but fascinating. We will monitor, but for now, your cooperation is noted." The tension eased, and Lyra allowed herself to relax slightly. The bond between her and Ethan had not only survived scrutiny, it had been recognized as something extraordinary. That night, as the twin moons rose again, Lyra and Ethan returned to the dome. The pulse of the soulmate signal was steady, warm, and gentle, a perfect reflection of the bond they had nurtured throughout the day. "I didn't expect all of this when I woke up in the ice," Ethan said softly, settling beside her. Lyra smiled, feeling the pulse in her chest echo his words. "Neither did I, but it seems we were meant to find each other, not just as a human and an alien, but as partners, as allies, as something more." Ethan turned to her, his eyes bright with determination. "Then whatever comes next, we face it together." Lyra nodded, feeling a surge of certainty. The challenges ahead would be immense, but with Ethan at her side, she felt ready. Together, they could explore the limits of the signal, bridge the gap between species, and perhaps discover a new way for humans and her people to coexist. Outside, the icy wind continued to howl, the twin moons casting their silver glow over the plains. But inside the dome, warmth and light pulsed gently, a testament to the extraordinary bond between a human and an alien girl. The soulmate signal, once wild and uncontrollable, now thrummed with steady strength, a beacon of hope, trust, and the promise of adventures yet to come. For Lyra and Ethan, this was only the beginning.